Evening, everybody, and welcome to our 10th installment of the Living Room Stage and Gallery, brought to you by the IVCC Theater Department. Trying to keep everybody entertained in this time when there's no entertainment to be had anywhere. We hope everybody's keeping safe and wearing your mask and doing all that stuff that you're supposed to be doing. This is our 10th week for this. Boy, and we've had some terrific guests. And we've sort of gone coast to coast. Before I get into our next guest, though, tonight, I do want to tell you that next week, excuse me, our last week of July, or our last Sunday in July, which is hard to believe, we are going to have on the show some of your favorite performers from different area stages. See what they're doing to stay challenged artistically during the shutdown of everything, see what their plans are, or just chat for a while. Should be a lot of fun. If you know somebody that you think would be great for this, on our IVCC Fine Arts Facebook page, go ahead and forward the post when it appears tomorrow to whoever that is. So I'd love to hear from you. Again, if you'd like to comment while we're talking tonight, make sure you do that. And our producer tonight is Chad. Hi, Chad. Probably doesn't have his microphone on. Hi, Chad. Okay, take my word for it. Chad's there, or I would not be. Here. Oh, here we go.
Hello. Sorry.
That's okay. How are things in the remote studio over in Princeton tonight, Chad?
Fantastic. We're doing well for our second time on YouTube.
Yeah. Hey, good job getting us flipped over. We get a lot more viewership this way. And once again, these videos stay up here forever, so you can share them around if you have somebody you'd like to see it. All right, without further ado, a few weeks ago, I talked with Frank Velosnik from the East Coast. Tonight, we're going to go to the West Coast. This gentleman is an IVCC alum. He's originally from LaSalle. Well, you know what? I'm going to let him tell you all about himself in just a few. First of all, please welcome Steve Kinsella. Hi, Steve. How you doing?
Well, hello.
Hi.
Hello, Illinois Valley.
Yeah, we got wet today. Big old.
You did.
Yeah, big old Illinois storm rolled in with
We
lots
have that
of,
seasonally here. We have rain seasonal.
Now you're in Brentwood?
I'm in Brentwood, which is not O.J. Simpson's. That's a neighborhood,
right,
or development down in L.A. This is
right.
Brentwood is a very comfortable agricultural community, about 30 miles east of San Francisco. 30 miles west of San Francisco would be very hard to grow agriculture.
It would. I lived in Santa Cruz for a while.
Very
Beautiful
good.
place. Yeah.
Just about an hour and 15 away. And I know the shortcuts.
Highway 1, only way to go. Top down. So how long have you been in California?
Gosh, it's been about 38 years.
Wow. Okay, well, we missed each other at IVCC back in the day, but you have several projects. Yeah, I mean, just barely though. You're a few years behind me, more than a few. You have several things you do out there in California. You're president and artistic director for the Broadway Repertory Theater and the Brentwood Teen Theater. You also own the Kinsella Theater Group and Candlelight Cabaret Dinner Theater. It's a lot of hats.
No wonder I'm so tired.
Hey, I had a dinner theater for 20 years.
You know the drill.
12 shows a week. Oh my God. I've never wanted to be in the restaurant business.
You're only good as your last show.
I know. But anyway, let's go back in time, shall we? Like I told everyone, you
Chad,
are
do you have some theme music for us on that?
Let's see. What would be the Well, it would be disco because we're going to go back to the 70s right now. Which I
remember that.
Yeah,
I remember when we said about the 50s, what people now say about the 70s.
I know. We're going back to IVCC, and there is a page from the yearbook. Recognize anybody there?
Oh boy, I do. I see Pete Esche in the bottom picture standing up next to Bob Duncan. I think kneeling down is Andy Gray. Holy cats. And that guy with the only time I ever had a Dutch boy haircut in my life. Oh, I'm glad I can see the humor in these photos I see today.
I know. I was given a newspaper clipping by somebody who keeps them of me back in the 70s, and I brought it home, and it promptly went into a drawer, never to see the light of day again. So,
Happened. I used to
well,
enjoy sending them to my mom, though. They were
yeah,
always good for that.
that was about it. I want everybody to notice here, if you're familiar at all with the college, this is now the Student Life Center, Student Life.
Learning
The
Center? Learning Resource Center?
No, that's what it was when we were there, Learning Resource Center. Chad, can you zoom in on that picture right? Let's see, where is that? Steve, you sitting on the edge of
That's
the
me on the couch,
stage?
yeah.
But yeah, is it a couch? Okay, that that one there that you had. Okay, those stairs are not. There you go. Those stairs are not part of the set. The ones behind Steve that you see there. That is the old. We called it the Learning Resource Center, and I think you can tell by that photo the portable stages that were built. Steve, we now have a beautiful 600-seat theater that is gorgeous.
So, Don, my very last duty there as the student trustee, which would have
Oh,
meant 77, I think. It was the first year that the Illinois Community College Trustees Association allowed student board members, which I was, to vote and not vote, make motions. And I
wow.
actually made the motion to build that theater. And I said, I remember my closing argument was, if we wait 5 years, it's going to cost another $2 million. let's pull this trigger, shall we? And I looked over at the chairman of the board then, Clem Jasic, and Al Wiskowski was president, and they were like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's
Good point. Yeah. The
he
kid has
knows
a
what he
point.
wants here." But yeah, those old resource centers,
You can make
they
that
were
go away,
great
Chad.
for acoustic sound, but
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it was an interesting, like the one on the other side we used for the Madrigal dinners. That one
Right.
I think was down by the Fireside Lounge.
Fireplace lounge. Yeah.
Fireplace Lounge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, it was a big space. And, very oftentimes right now, depending what production I have going on with what production company, we'll go into a space like that, build an arena theater, and put on a show at the end of the week. So it just kind of was some early lessons in how to do that. And everything had to go back into a little elevator to get struck down to the basement.
Yep. I remember. I've been, you know what, since I've now been on faculty there and the director, I've actually been stuck in one of the elevators, one of the new ones, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
I'll call somebody
completely.
to help you. No, I don't know anybody who would help you now.
We were hauling props down. We were packed.
yeah.
It was closing night, and we had done an off-property show. I can't even remember where it was, but we're in the elevator, and it stopped, and a voice started talking to us. Yeah, we'll get you. Oh, well, kind of like Oscar and Sweet Charity. All righty.
Yeah.
You have 12 brothers, or you have 11 brothers and sisters.
That is correct. I was the 10th of 12 children.
Wow.
And made it really good to know how to get along well in groups later.
Yeah.
How to not talk politics at the dinner table. It was really, it was an upbringing. And some of my brothers and sisters have now moved back to the LaSalle area.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, so Stacy's been there, and Pat, my brother Phil, who was the Ivy airporter, is back there now from after years in Denver. Paul's been back for a while, but he had lived some years in Arizona, I believe, that he came back and just retired last year, I think, from FedEx.
Oh, no kidding.
And then Stacy's been a nursing supervisor at a number of VA hospitals. just retired rather last year. Now she's starting another business, and everybody's busy.
You Kinsellas are busy. Are you the only one that went into entertaining?
No, that's a great question, Don. I would say that at one time or another, every one of my siblings played music or sang for money.
Really?
Either in small things. My brother Larkin had a one-man show. Let me think. We used to kid him about a stage name, James Bodine. But anyway, he was at the old Pirates Cove. Oh my gosh, years ago when there was a stage in the background, and I didn't know how well known he was until my buddy and I and some other pals were swimming. We went up to Daniel's Motel to swim for the day. We thought, what a great deal. No lifeguards telling us what to do. Anyway,
it's still here. Just P.S.
Is it still there? Oh, good.
It's probably still here.
Dan, the man, probably still managing. Well, these college girls had come from Rockford, and they're playing, and one of my friends, a little bolder than me, and says, "What do you want to do later?" And they said, "Oh no, we're seeing Larkin Kinsella tonight." And they all look at me, and I go, "What about that?" I said, "Oh no, we're going to see Larkin Kinsella at Pirates Cove," and we and some other friends from Rockford have all driven down to see him, and I was like, "Oh, all I knew is he left, and they came back very late at night, and I got to see him one time, but that was Larkin. The four older sisters, older than him, had a quartet. After Larkin was Paul, who still will do a single on occasion, Dusty Bill. My brother Vince played in college. Phil played in college, and when he had first moved to Denver, played a lot. So, and then Stacy sings there regularly now with some of the concert bands, I believe. And Pat had a band. Let me think. Lakeside
You guys
Drive,
are like what was that movie? The Foys, the Singing Foys,
or
something
Singing
like
Foys, yeah. So everybody had something going. And my brother Joe, the youngest, was a wonderful guitar player. We might have a family gathering, and people are passing the guitar around. They give it to Joe, and we all drop our jaws and watch. And then he'd say, "Who wants it next?" We'd be like, "No, let's go do something else." Nobody wanted to follow him. He was so good.
So, do you ever get back to this area?
I do. It's been a few years now, but I'm probably due for a visit one of these summers. The trouble is, usually in the summer, I'm doing 5 shows.
Yeah.
Summer. And suddenly to go from that as being a typical thing to this summer, just about going bonkers crazy. But I'm working on some of my original stuff, so that's good. I got to get some more writing done. So it's proved to be okay.
Well, we're going to get into all that stuff in just a second. Let's keep going through history here. Now, in 1980, you see what I like. I have your bio here, and I said, and it says an entertainment personality. See, my bio always says entertainer. I feel that a lot of folks that start out in the music industry really have a little leg up because you're not afraid to ad lib it on stage and kill time. I know it opened doors for me as an opening act for many, many years, but you were with this band that people still know the name. I think they just disbanded not that long ago. But
just about a year ago.
Right.
Yeah, that was sadly at the passing of the guitar player.
Wow.
And that was Road Angel.
Right. There's your long, luscious locks.
Oh, man. I look at that now, and I remember vaguely getting out of the shower and due to the Midwest humidity, never really being able to dry those locks. And so started just letting them go a little bit more natural. But Dick Charbonneau there in the back row with the decorative pocket and interesting collar was in the band from the beginning till the end. And it was a very fun way. I actually was giving my brother Paul a ride to do that audition. And they were covering something he didn't know. And I kind of sang it in his ear. And they said, "Oh, sing it on the microphone so he can really hear you." And I did, and I didn't know they were auditioning me. And I walked back outside, and he came out and says, well, you know, I like what they do, but they're about 10 years younger than me, but they do want to talk to you. And I was like, what, somebody needs a ride somewhere? About what? He said, no, you should go back in and see. And I did, and that led me to, many a night driving the hidden back roads of the country to get from Bloomington Normal back to Ottawa to practice, and then back in time to hit the hay and be up early enough for opera school. So I was, became to where I was paying for myself to go through opera training with my work in the rock band.
That's crazy. Well, like I said, I think that this gives you a whole different perspective towards doing theater as well, because, well, basically it is theater, but it's a great way to stretch the vocal cords. And look at you, you've I can't put opera certainly on my on my bio. Never been a fan. We got you with a familiar face to so many people around here. This is you and Bob Manahan here that I believe we have a picture of.
Yeah.
Now, what was this occasion? And
if
when?
I'm not mistaken, I think I was actually back. Oh, no, it was just a visit. We have a modified year-round school out here, and we had 2 weeks off in March. Went back for a family reunion, and called Bob. It doesn't always. Sometimes I get there, do something in Chicago, come right back home again. So I called him, and he agreed to meet me at his favorite haunt. I think one of his favorites, the Igloo. And it was very interesting. That conversation that day. He was such a sharp guy, and shared so much with you. If you just kind of stood back and listened a little bit, it was like, wow. Now, doing the amount of productions I do now, it's like how lucky I was to have his influence in my life. We were talking about how when I end a theater, a camp, or I end a production, I'll say, now listen, someday you're going to come up to me and say, do you remember me? And I'm going to answer that question truthfully if you want me to, which is no. So I would instruct the cast and say, hey, Mr. Kinsella, it's me, Bobby. I played Joey, the kid who fell out of the tree in Tom's whatever. Yeah. And I'll go, now, Joey, yeah, okay, now catch me up on you. And then, as if on cue, this woman came up to Mr. Manahan and said, do you remember me? And I'm like, we had just talked about this. Yeah. And I said, hi, I'm Steve Kinsella. What's your name? And she told us, and then he could frame it. But there's one thing about touching a lot of lives is there's a lot of people to remember.
I know. I have the same issue with remembering people, especially the older I get. I mean, I've worked with so many casts, so many shows, so many decades. And I used to be so much better at it. And now I have people come up and they're like, hey, Don, remember me? And my standard reply is, you look familiar, give me a hint. And if they don't offer their name, I'm still screwed. But alrighty, let's talk about what you got going on. Now, I know we got a potpourri of pictures here, but tell me about the, let's talk about the Brentwood Teen Theater first. That's very intriguing. Sure. 16 years you've been doing that.
Yeah. Every Saturday morning. And I learned after the first few years to go ahead and get a choreographer that was a little more hip than I. And my kids would say, Dad, just the fact that you said the word hip tells us you're not.
Have they called you Boomer yet?
Oh, yeah. My youngest is that. And I said, I'm proud of that title. Yeah. I'm right behind the greatest generation in the world, I think. So,
Hopefully.
So let's see. Yeah. So Brentwood Teen Theater, it is a training program for actors. Originally 13, but I needed some munchkin once in The Wizard of Oz. So the low age in is 10 and the high age is 19. And we work skills. And somebody said, well, you must spend a lot of time polishing the shows. And I go, well, we spend a lot of time polishing the participants and giving them power and instruction that empowers them. And when I give a character assignment to say, okay, read the script and then write me a day in the life of your character, I get masterpieces in. I mean, the kids are just wonderful and imaginative, and they, you know, occasionally we'll get a brother drug along kicking and screaming, but for the most part, they all very much want to be there. And from the work there and the work I was doing just before moving out here, gosh, I think of guys like Bryce Pinkham, who the only reason he's not on a Broadway stage tonight is the COVID virus. Yeah. But he was he played the younger star in A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder, and he was the bad guy in Ghost, and he's done a bunch of other things. I was happy to have worked with his dad many years ago, and his dad brought him in for I think 4 years of voice work, and then his dad, when I started the Broadway Repertory Theater, I started with the Fantastics, you know, just a great show, small cast, small arena. And so Bryce's dad played the father of the girl. And it was just lovely to see Dave acting again. He was always such a good actor. And he had a lot of his students came out to see him. They were like, oh, you act too? Oh, Mr. Pinkham, you know.
So how many shows a year do you do with the youth theater?
With the youth theater, typically 5 to 6, some years 7.
So year round.
Yeah. I used to try to take a week off in between and then start up the next group. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we'll go right in, depending on our performance space and their schedule and what I can do. I like to rehearse them about 8 weeks. Sometimes we do 6. Sometimes we do a matching to our pro schedule, which is 4.5. Wow. But with training the kids, and I mean hardcore technique and acting and singing, then I kind of get out of the way a little bit. And my job's to help them look good. And I'll go, okay, no, I know what you were trying for, but it didn't work. Don't argue with me. Just go back. I'm making you look good. But I like letting people do some creating when they're acting. I know what it's been like when I was working with a director who had step-by-step blocking for a whole show. It was like,
that's stifling.
Not the kind of thing I want to do again. I remember doing Tony and West Side Story years ago at Woodminster Amphitheater here in the East Bay, up in the hills above Oakland. It's a lovely 2,000-seat outdoor arena. And the owner, choreographer, a Broadway gal, Harriet Schlater, was trying to block me step by step on Something's Coming. And it had already been a very quick rehearsal period. I remember getting measured, and somebody said, how many weeks we have? Do we have 5 weeks for this? And I couldn't think. And Harriet walks right by right then and says to this guy says, Harriet, do we have 5 weeks for this? And she goes, no. No, he said, do we have 5 for this? He said, no, we have 13. And I said to myself, 13 weeks, that's going to be, and I'm just about to say 13 weeks. And the guy says, 13 weeks? And he goes, no, we opened 2 weeks from last night. Have you been fitted yet? Get in there. Like, how fast can you learn to be bad?
Yeah. Well, but working with the kids, their minds are like traps. They don't forget lines. They know everybody else's lines, you know?
They are wonderful. And, you know, I spend a lot of time about week 4 on improvisation. Mm-hmm. And don't mean to give out too many of his cigarettes, but his cigarettes, his techniques rather. But
with kids, wait, we need to talk about.
You'll see when I finish this that it still doesn't make sense. So, Tech Week at LP, and I was pretty proud of every show I was ever involved with there. I mean, we had costumes for Eves from New York. The Flats came in from New York. A custodian, Frank, built things so fast and so well and so innovative. It was fun just to be in his presence as he would turn lumber into something. But I noticed that on Tech Week, when things were going really well, all of a sudden, Mr. Manahan would do something to mess things up. And I remember in How to Succeed, I was a freshman, so I was on the main curtain. And I see this box, about a 3-foot tall box, cardboard box. It's made its entrance. It's zigzagging through the people and exits the other side. And afterwards, I said, Mr. Manahan, was that you in that box? And he goes, gotta keep them fresh, keep them fresh. So people just moved out of the way. They weren't thrown by it. And I work because, I mean, I have a lengthy list of stories, but I work with them a lot on improv. Yeah. We had a Annie years ago, and I understand the star of the show is now a very popular blogger with like 130,000 people following her.
Wow.
But back then she was my Annie. And I kept saying to the woman who had the sandy colored dog, how much, when can we meet the dog? We've got to train it. Will the dog like scrambled eggs, bacon, and a little hash brown? And we'll show Annie to him, then take him off stage, let him come and find her again. And, we trained the dog. Yeah. So she said, oh, yeah, we had to go in for some shots and stuff, but we'll have him, we can't have him to the morning performance this week before you open, but we'll have him to the afternoon. And I'm sitting at the table, the kids are wrapping up lunch break, and I look, and here comes a woman. It looks like the woman with the dog Sandy, but she's got a pug with her. And she told me how the dog's name was Sandy. And her kid was in the show, and I heard her kid yell, Sandy, and every look at this pug tries to gallop all the way over. And I was thinking, what am I going to do? And, it worked up fine. Instead of the girl getting down where the sidelines would be, I said, would you feel comfortable picking up that dog and singing tomorrow holding the pug? She said, how do you think the pug will be with that? And I go, oh, the pug will love it. So, yeah. Imagine this. When I think of a day that's sad and lonely, I just pick up and that dog started to howl along with Annie. And pretty near key, too. It was one of the most, and I remember thinking, someday I'm going to be like on an internet broadcast, and I'll tell this story. So finally, here we are. The funny things that happened. But she was fine, just sang, kind of smiled, looked back at the tech table, and I smiled and doing great, honey. Just keep singing with the bug.
And the audience thought, wow, how did they train that?
That's right. That's right. No, the compliments came in, but that
God.
was a special little actor.
Working with kids and animals, I'll tell you, I've done it both.
John,
I learned my lesson. I was directing Gypsy one time.
Yeah.
One of many times, and the lamb died. And the kids in the show were all attached to it. And I don't know what happened. The farmer that owned it was taking care of it and stuff. And it's like, oh, lamb's dead.
Died at the theater?
Well, it died outside the theater in its enclosure, which was safe. Nobody, I mean, nothing. I really don't know what happened. So the next time I directed Gypsy, I'm like, how do I get around having a sheep on stage? Because, and I directed another time and it was out of lamb season. And they're like, oh, we've got a small one. And so they brought this. It was
small,
huge, yeah, to them, and it would kick Louise in the stomach even when it was tranquilized, trying to get away while she was singing Little Lamb. So it was like little lamb. So the next time I directed Gypsy, I thought, okay, so the landlord yells at him about all the animals, and then somebody gives her the sheep for, I don't know how the, oh my God. Have you ever directed something so many times, all of a sudden you forget how it goes?
Like, didn't I fix that already?
Yeah. But anyway, we used a really big cat as the live animal and a stuffed lamb because she has stuffed animals and and nobody missed the sheep. I don't think anybody goes to Gypsy to hear or to see a song about
I
a
don't
live
think
sheep.
so. I don't think so.
All right.
I have what I think will be the funniest children's theater story, and I've never told it anywhere.
Does it
They were
involve a stage mom?
No, the
Oh.
director.
Oh, okay.
So I'm doing Les Mis. Great group of kids. We've studied, the differences in the classes. I mean, we've really delved into some of the history, so to really sharpen our authenticness. And we're all sitting after a show. We're wrapping up. After a midday break on a double run rehearsal. So that's usually the week before I open the show. And I said, okay, did we cover everything? Any other questions? And this little tiny girl says, Mr. Kinsella, what do prostitutes do? And I'm like, oh my gosh, do I feel this? And all the older kids are like, what's the old man going to do on this? So I took my time and slowly, to the border of what they should hear from me and what they should ask questions about at home.
Yeah.
I took it pretty close to that. And I said, does that answer your question? And she said, no, I meant, do they go with the guards downstage right or the other poor people on stage left?
Well, there's one for the book.
Oh, that I tell you, we all had a good laugh at me that day.
She probably was looking at you like you were out of your mind with that. No, she probably thought you were giving her motivation.
Yeah, that's probably
that could.
I never heard from the parents. Great person. The father's.
That's always nice. We had a performing arts school in conjunction with the dinner theater when I was in Peoria for those 20 years, and luckily we didn't have a whole lot of Mama Rose stories. When you get one, you know it. That's for sure. But I always felt bad for the kids. I got to ask you, did you watch Dance Moms when it was popular?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand it too long.
Yeah, well, she was awful, but I knew every one of those mothers, if you know what
moms,
I mean. Yeah. All right, now let's talk about some of your other places out there. So, first of all, where do you do the productions with the teen theater?
With the teen theater, I rent a multi-purpose room at a Lutheran church, Resurrection Ministries, and we move in on show nights. Like the opening night will be a Friday. Mm-hmm. We get the room at 5:30, and the doors open at 7, and we're always ready for them. And we use pipe and drape, raked seating platforms, sound systems. It is a room not conducive to a live orchestra, so we use some of the tracks that are coming out so much now from.
Everybody's doing it. Everybody.
Yeah.
I always say, do you remember the Candlelight Dinner Theater in Chicago on Harlem there?
That's why I named the traveling show the Candlelight Candidate.
Really?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really? What a magnificent place. And we were always jealous of how great they have 8 pieces up in the balcony. They have one horn. And then with the advent of tracks and everybody having the ability at the different dinner theaters, because at that point I had a dinner theater, and because we're all limping along with, piano, double keyboards, bass, drum, whatever, you'd go to Candlelight and go, damn, I wish we could get that sound. Then with the advent of tracks, you'd go back to Candlelight and it's like, wow, it sounds cheesy now. It sounds empty because we're used to hearing the fully orchestrated track, and they've just gotten better and better. At the college, we do all tracks now.
Yeah. Well, I was watching Jesus Christ Superstar on a tour with the original Christ. I can't think of his name right now, and they had been to this arena. This is called the City of Concord Pavilion, and it's about 12,000 seats. And it's a real interesting thing because when you're performing there, as I have with symphonies, it's almost like it's just you and the symphony because the first chair is 20 feet away, from where it all starts. But he came out and he apologized how 10 years earlier they had been there. And he said, how many people have your tickets still from that you're using those tickets tonight? And practically the whole place had been there that night, that he had to come out and announce that he was closing. And they couldn't do the show and they couldn't talk about why, but their tickets to be honored someday in the future. So this is the day that we're there. So he goes back, and at that time, the orchestra was in a pit-like position. It was a curved stage that also rotated. Now they're more just proscenium. But he goes back, and here comes the band walking out. And I know they've got to come down these steps, but I only see 8 people. And I have field glasses, which I even take them to the opera if they're that long, like I could scope on people trying to invade us through the Golden Gate. Anyway, I'm looking inside, and then I thought 8 players for this show. It's 17 piece. I look over at the soundboard, and I see this guy open this Cobalt CD case, pulled the first one, nod to the conductor who puts on his headphones, which is how you can tell when he's conducting to a track, as you know. And they only had a live drummer, live guitar, live bass. I can't think, but it was a skeleton crew, but the whole show was on track.
Right.
And it
so
sounded
many
good.
places, and that's unusual now. Even outside of Broadway in Chicago and Broadway, and some tour shows. But even tour shows are doing a lot of tracks with a few actual musicians to augment. So
there's a very famous show that was here in San Francisco for about 5 years, and because somebody let me know that was involved with them. The show will remain nameless, but he said, well, next time you come see it, just keep watching the conductor and you'll know when it's live and when it's Memorex. Particular musical, don't call it because I'm not going to admit, but the femme fatale has a high E to sing, and she's also very high up there too. And the composer, I don't know his name, but his initials were, well, let's just say Weber. And he wanted a chance. He didn't want a chance that some soprano wasn't going to have that E flat someday up there in the nosebleeds above the lighting grid. And so that was recorded. And I remember there was one singer I knew well. She sang with the symphony the week before or the week after I did. Anyway, I said, of all the people, you could sing that E flat. And she goes, oh, I still sing along. I sing it, but when mic's not on, it's perfection. Well, so we come to expect.
Before I came back to this area, I was performing in Branson, Missouri.
Branson, I know it.
Yeah, the entertainment capital of Missouri. A lot of great entertainers down there, and there's a lot of folks that are not young that are performing down there. And and I had this really funny agent, and she would give me all the inside scoop on stuff. And we went to Bobby Vinton's show, and Bobby was certainly no spring chicken by any long stretch. And he's singing, he sounded just like he always did, And at intermission, she goes, all right, now I'm going to let you in on a secret. And I can't remember what his signal was. I think he straightened his bow tie or something. And that was the cue for whoever was running sound that, kick the track in and I'll lip sync. So at my show, I'm like, hey, can I have that? And she's like, no, you got to sing it. But I thought,
got it.
Yeah, I know. What a weird place that was. I was there for 2 years. All right. Aside from the Broadway, the Brentwood teen. Tell me about you're the artistic director for the Broadway Repertory Theater.
Yes, it's funny how that company came about. I originally came to Brentwood after a meeting with some movers and shakers in the town south of here that wanted to have an adult theater company. And at that company, I was told, pulled aside, whatever you do, we're not doing any of that new cutting edge stuff. Then another guy pulls me aside and says, if you're thinking of bringing chestnuts in here from the old days, well, a bunch of us are going to leave. And somebody else was starting to say something, and somebody comes up and grabs him and turns around and said, we voted not to tell him that. And I'm thinking, okay, this could be my life.
Yeah.
And I drove up, and instead of going where I thought I was going up a crooked road, a 2-lane road for the most of the part that goes from Pleasanton and Livermore, California, up to Brentwood, where I live. And when I came upon the first sight of the Brentwood lights, last time I'd been in the town, it was 2,000 people. And I saw all these lights and I thought, oh my gosh, I missed a turn. I'm in Stockton. Where the heck am I? I finally pull in the town and I see the city signs, and now the population is 52,000, I think, instead of 2,000. So it's grown a lot. And I remember thinking, everything I ever started, people would always encourage me to come in with them, get it up and running, and then they'd say something really dumb and you'd go, I can't even be here anymore.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, I wonder how this Brentwood is. And so I checked. There was a city council. There was an artist lecture committee, which I thought, okay, somebody's interested in the arts. And so I arranged to go to a meeting and introduce myself at that time. This was, this is a few years back. And I introduced myself, and I had these letters of reference from theater owners and producers and directors all over the Bay Area, like 25 names. And as I'm starting to introduce myself, or this guy's reading the notes, the next item of business is Steve Kinsella. And this guy jumps up and he goes, this is the kind of guy that could do what I was talking about. I wasn't at that part of the meeting. I'm thinking, I don't know. I hope he knows who I am. Doesn't think I'm going to lay bricks or something. Yeah. But that started, I said, I don't think any of these, I'll just go off that guy's testimony. And he's still quite a supporter of the arts. But I came up and I saw there was no adult theater. And I thought, well, maybe I'm going to get that going. But first I want to do a training program. I knew that. So I started.
You're talking about a community theater, right? Volunteer. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, with the Brentwood Teen Theater running pretty well, I decided to start this adult company. I wasn't too sure. And then the editor of the newspaper called me and he said, hey, you know how people are always wanting to have a meeting with you about starting a theater company, but actually what they want to do is be the star of the theater company. I said, oh, yeah, I've experienced that a little bit. Yeah. And he said, well, there's this guy I'm going to introduce you to named Jack Gaughan. And he is not about performing. He's seen your work and he wants to talk to you about it. And, we missed each other for 5 weeks. I was directing Sound and Music over the hill in Oakland. And this guy came up to me and I just met him briefly. I was bringing original work and he introduced himself after this original show. And then it's the same guy with the girl playing the youngest Von Trapp child, Greta, maybe, and the woman playing the maid. And they come up and she says, this is my dad. And the little girl says, this is my grandpa. And he goes, I'm serious about starting a theater. I went, oh, okay. Well, if you're bringing the heavyweights out on me now, we'll meet. And we talked and decided he had scoped out an area near a shopping mall that was not completely developed yet. And they had no pad there. It was just dirt. And I said, well, if we had somebody who doesn't have a backhoe in Brentwood, we'll have them dig a pit. And then we'll bring in a stage. And I had a friend who was a out of work engineer at the time. He designed and built this whole stage which interestingly enough led to a job offer for him at that rap show. But I got a hold of Hollywood Tent and Awning and got this great big saddle span tent, which looks like a big potato chip. And I said, instead of having it this way, we're going to tip it up in the air. And then the audience will see all this white, and we're going to use that as a cyclorama. So we started with Guys and Dolls and had, movies of New York going by, of course, in the Runyonland scene. And it was very effective. We had 27 performances that summer, and people were pretty skeptical about who's going to go home from work and then go back out and see a show. And I go, well, isn't that show business? But if they want it to be here, they better support it, or it'll go to the next town down the road. And out of those 29 shows rather that we had 27 sellouts.
Wow.
And the other two, it was just so cold and windy, I wanted to go home. But that led to the establishment of that was Brentwood Theater Company.
Right.
And I ran that for 7 years with Jack gone. And there were some things that just kind of came along that you can kind of go, well, I could stay here and put a lot of energy into changing this, or maybe I just start something fresh. And I did, and that was Broadway Repertory Theater. And we're in our fourth year. Our company won. You have to go for 3 years on book shows before you were eligible. But I can't really aim my computer. But up there's awards. There's awards all over the back in my bookcase. Stuff. I used to have them in drawers, and my kids were like, "Dad, put these out."
Yeah.
So we've been doing very well, and the community just supports the heck out of it. And the other company closed.
Is it still an outdoor venue?
That was. No, we didn't use that venue. The very next year, we went inside because a store built on our space.
Oh,
darn
perfect.
it!
Yeah.
Just when you think you've covered every possibility.
Because it sounds like a really enchanting place. I mean,
well, and at the time in that strip mall, there were only about 2 or 3 restaurants, and now there's like 5 or 6. And so we went to the restaurant. Yeah, well, we went to the restaurant owners and said, "Look, come in. Do something that's got a little map of where they can find your business on your hors d'oeuvres. And it's our first year. We're not going to take a piece of the pie. You get all the money you make." And those people did so well that they came back and donated some money back to us. So awesome. we had some good years there. Then we moved into a high school auditorium. Okay. With a full pit, and we were all live instrumental music outside. And the first few years, then when I left, I did use a live band for the Fantastics, but for different ones, we've used tracks. And
so you parted ways, and that's when you started the Rep Company.
That's when Broadway Rep started. Yeah.
In a different venue location. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Got it. Now I got it.
Yeah. And that's just been going. It's almost like that. There was another company that says they're kind of like resurrecting the name of that group, but they call themselves something else. Right. Anyway,
so, Rep Company.
I'm blessed that the people came with me.
Oh, sure.
And really, it's a blessing. One guy I coached a lot. The next year did a show with them and won an award, and all through his award, he was thanking me from the other theater company. I'm like, dial it down, buddy. And I happen to be front row center for this award show, and I'm just going, dial it down, take it down.
So, how many shows you still have Broadway Rep, right?
Yes, we're on, as you can imagine, hiatus right now, but we're trying to do 3 to 4. The next schedule was one of my original shows, Christmas at the Biltmore, for late November into December. And we don't know yet.
Well, so I know none of us do. I think we got a picture of that. Now, you wrote this as well.
I did. Oh, I'm looking. Oh my gosh. Yes, I did. I wrote it. I was working originally at a church, And they said, could you, like, would it be odd? Can you find a drama that's got multiple generations, some angst, a little push, Christmassy, but not churchy? And I said, yeah, I think I have. I went home going, what the hell am I going to do? I told them so I actually, as I did with The Glory of Love, I stayed up that night and wrote the outline and had it pretty well framed in before I would let myself go to sleep.
This is a big cast.
It is, and it's kind of fun. I'm looking at that picture on stage right, or our left in the red sweater is in that white chair is my neighbor Betty from down the street. And I was driving by, and she watches TV in her garage and waves, and she's very social. And I remember stopping one time, and walked up and I said, you know what I do? And she says, so you're a teacher, aren't you? And I said, yeah, I do some directing too. And I have a walk-on part for you. You don't have to say any lines. You just come in one time, you nod at someone, you keep on going. You're a customer at the hotel. But this other time, this kid does something stupid. As he turns around, there you are. And you're going to just pat him nicely on the head and then just walk right by again. One of the biggest laughs of the show. So that's Betty. So she did that show.
How fun.
Gosh, as I looked down, just about every kid in the front row, went through Brentwood Teen Theater.
That's awesome.
And the girl in the white, in the sweater, in the center is my youngest daughter, Natalie, who's now 15.
You have, all right, coming from a family of 12, you have not done so bad yourself. You have a son and 3 daughters.
Yeah.
Wow. I think we even have a picture, and I'm not sure if it's recent, but Chad, you got the Kinsella family there. The California Kinsellas, not the LaSalle Kinsella.
Yeah, you couldn't fit them on the.
Wow.
Oh boy. Yes, that's Jason next to me, and he's a very successful writer director. If you've ever seen Dads in Parks, that's his writing and his editing and his directing. The two on the outside, the girls, just turned 21, and they're both at William Jessup universities, and they've earned some scholarships. They work very hard. And Natalie, he's here at a high school in town, and she's done I bet she's done about 8 or 10 leads for me. And it's tough. I make it harder it's like being the coach's kid. You got to be extra good. And,
yeah, I know. My daughter the same way. All of them performed in your shows. More like, yeah.
And in fact, oh gosh, I was just thinking, the reason I was laughing when I was first looking at this picture is that Jason, who is a comedian, and jasonsorino.com is his website. He took this picture, and a lot of people in LA know him as a stand-up. So across the top of it, he writes this thing in yellow, loud ink, American comedian family gets features Chinese show, and then all these other Chinese writings. And I had people calling me, congratulate. I go, wait a minute, I got to see this. I don't think I've seen this picture. He goes, about your TV show in China. And I said, this has got to be a joke, and this has got to be Jason. Wow. So it's about 11 in the morning. I give him a call, and I go, hey, what'd you do to that photo? And he goes, oh, Pop, I've got like 200 emails this morning who want to know when we start shooting. It was just a joke. And I said, well, develop it, you better develop it now.
Wow.
But he's doing well down there. He's just got a new film out. Oh, he's going to kill me for not remembering the name of it. But all of his buddies are in a band, and he's just a terrible guy in it. And he's rude to everybody. But then they would film their breakup at different LA clubs. And people would like come up to him and say, you got to be nicer to these other people, not knowing they were filming this live band breakup, which was just excellent. One guy, they left some stuff in that he went on and on with them. And it was so funny that it made it to the movie. But so he's shopping that around.
Now, how old is Jason now?
Jason is 20, I can do this, 28, 38. Yeah, it's like me being 23 again.
And the girls are in college, right?
Girls are in college, graduating next year, and one of them, Charlotte, big news, Illinois Valley, you heard it here first. Her fella just proposed to her.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
Just a great guy. He's a real good guy, and they just work together. Ordinarily, I'd say, don't you want to wait 15 years? But they've got things planned out. They're both planners, so it's going to be a wonderful marriage next May, I believe. It's in my calendar, believe me. Just so
I hope they can have a big wedding by then.
I hope so. And if not, it'll be quality, not quantity.
My daughter, who's 33 now, made me a grandfather last year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. He's a great little guy. But she was
immediately get smarter when you became a grandpa? Did you feel
he
like
just turned one? He just turned one. I feel like I can still mess with him for another couple of years, like I did with him. Then I have to, get rid of it. But she wisely, growing up, literally backstage, because her mother and I were both. Yeah, that was the dinner theater days. So, 12 shows a week, and she'd come out for many of them when she was tiny, and very funny. She would sit with me during rehearsal periods, like at the end of the runway, and she'd say, "I don't think Casey's picking up that step," and she'd be like, "4." I'd be like, "Damn, she was right." And then our rides home were always very funny during the runs of shows, because we'd run 3, 4, 5 months, and she would hang out backstage, and I'd always say, "Does anybody mind?" And they're like, "She's a hoot." And I knew she had a great sense of humor, but I drove a Jeep then, and she loved riding in the Jeep, and we'd be on our way home on a summer night, and we did a lot of Vegas style shows. So we had a lot of showgirls, we did book shows, but also the Vegas shows. And she would hang out in the girls' dressing room, and on the ride home, she'd say, "Daddy, I don't think Sandy's boyfriend really loves her. He doesn't treat her very well. And I think Cynthia should go with." She's 4. And I'm like, "I don't think you can hang out with the showgirls anymore, really." But she grew up very wise, and she's a great singer. She is an amazing dancer. She's a choreographer. She does a lot of stuff. She directed and choreographed Mamma Mia for a group, excuse me, down there last fall, I think it was. But she wisely did not major in it. She got her degree in teaching, but now she sells insurance and makes a lot more money than a teacher.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of dinner theater, candlelight, cabaret, dinner theater. Oddly enough, I've had a theater called the Cabaret Dinner Theater.
Well, a good thing. Why not?
Right. Now, is that year-round, full-time? How's that work?
It's year-round. And what happened there was when I was 12 in 7th grade at St. Patrick's, my brother asked me to go audition for Bob Manahan at the high school doing Mame. And I got the role. And then Bob took us up. They were doing Mame at the Candlelight Cabaret Dinner Theater. And he took us up to see it. And I remember thinking, oh, okay, this could be done in a lot tinier space than we're using, was one of the things I noticed about it. But I was then doing some shows out here that would bounce around. There was kind of like a holiday, a couple of years there for the holidays, from late November to, Christmas or New Year's Eve. If we wanted to, you could work every night. And I remember somebody saying, do you know a caterer that could come do this party? And I said, well, yeah, I know 6 or 7, but I'm not really affiliated with them. And I remember one woman saying, get affiliated with them, create a company. I pay you, you pay them, and they have an opportunity, and you have a little bit from what they make, but more importantly, what I said was I wanted people to have an enjoyable time. And there had been a dinner theater in Carmel that went away. California, south of San Francisco, about 3 hours. Carmel by the sea.
Okay. Yep, I know that one.
Mayor. Oh my gosh, who's the oldest working director?
Me.
He's older than you. He's 78. I can't think of his name. Phil Lucky Punk, that Dirty Harry.
Clint Eastwood?
Clint Eastwood, yeah. And anyway, it went away, and I was finishing up a tour, probably 95, and we were doing it at a theater down there, and I was approached by a restaurant, and he said, would you bring a show here where I do a buku dinner and you maybe do an hour and 10-minute cabaret show? Oh. And I did that. And I remember thinking about some of how the actors used to come in the aisles, and so I did that. It was very successful, and then started to want to plant some more roots. So right about that time, I was staying in Danville, which is a little bit farther south, but about halfway between here and San Francisco, and had been looking out here some of the same time, and that's when I bought out in Brentwood and started the other company. Then we had the touring kind of thing going with the dinner theater, where we would, instead of waiting for the phone to ring, we took out some ads in the holidays especially, and said we can accommodate both for you if you liked. And had 3 great caterers, all of them great. And so we enjoyed kind of bouncing the opportunities around them. And just so every night I got to take a plate of food home with me. That was my biggest condition.
I know. You know, at my dinner theater, that was the big deal at the end of the night. The actors, I mean, same food, basically, same menu, I should say, for an entire run. And actors, you would think, you know, we didn't care, but they would pile the plates and they would mouth through it. But, you know, they dance through 2 shows a day. They watch
big workout. Yeah.
So is the dinner theater still operating? Is that something?
It still goes do? Just right now we're on hiatus again.
Everybody.
In another area, yeah.
I think, you know, well, we'll talk about all that in a little bit here. We have some pictures of you from random shows you've done here and there. I bet Chad will.
It was a real bad show, I'm going to say. No, that's not me.
Oh,
well, I could see where you'd think that would be me, Don.
I've had a couple of those. What are we looking at here?
This was a couple of summers ago, and I knew a guy that I wanted, and this could be a medical lesson for people listening. I knew a guy that could do the role very well, and I called him, and he said, you know, Steve, you can sing better than me. Why don't you do it? And my daughter, Natalie, was playing 12-year-old Mary Lennox. And I said, well, no, I'm directing. He goes, well, I'll direct it. And then you star in it. So we started out that way, but he was under a contract as a very sought after scene construction person and not design so much as like show him a picture and he makes it happen.
I love that.
And yeah, great guy.
So what show is this?
The Secret Garden.
Secret Garden.
Simon's Secret Garden. Great music.
Okay. Yeah.
And so about 2 weeks before our opening, he said, they've just pulled these 2 other pages of designs. I've never seen them. And they're saying, look, they're in this email to you. And we open up the email and he goes, look, no, they're not. And I'm directing another show. And they go, we really need you to, you know, you have some kind of a do not compete. So anyway, that is the look of a fatigued director doing the lead, and just why I don't do that, because I was so tired most of the time that my voice wasn't working. But here's what else I found out. When I said to him, you know, Stuart, I've lost some steps if I were a football player as far as my singing voice goes. And at the time, I have a nerve problem that goes down my arm. And they had me on a drug. And here's my spoof about the drug. I hope this pharmacy company doesn't sponsor the program.
Nobody sponsors.
They had me on this this medicine Oh my gosh, maybe I blocked it. But it's supposed to deaden nerve pain, but not make you goofy, because I can't take goofy stuff because I think for a living. So I'm on gabapentin. I'm on this drug gabapentin. Now we're still about 4 weeks out, and I'm still convincing Stuart Lyle to sing it. And I've got a student here at my piano from San Francisco who wants to cross over from opera to musical theater. So we're going to brighten him a little bit. And so I go to demonstrate something for him, and I ring a high A, only it's me singing from like 15 years ago. I hear it going on, and I'm milking it. And he goes, "Wow, that's really something." I go, "No, I wasn't showing off. I was surprised it happened." So I call this doctor who's giving me the gabapentin. And I said, I told you I'm a singer, right? And he said, yeah. And I said, so would gabapentin have any effect on the nerves in my larynx? Or would it affect that? And he said, oh yeah, every nerve in the body. I would imagine it's a challenge to sing. And I go, yeah, I gave it up. I thought I was done.
Oh,
so, and then in that same cast, I had a guy playing Mary Lennox's father, great singer from the San Francisco Opera Chorus, and I heard that same click in his voice. And I said, hey, how much gabapentin do you take a day? He says, well, 3 pills 3 times a day. And I said, your voice doesn't behave like it used to. And he goes, well, I'm 58 now. I go, hey, it's nothing to do with it.
No.
Just see if you can stop the gabapentin and listen to what happens. I give it like 3 weeks. If nothing, if you miss it, if it helped your pain, it didn't do anything for mine, hey, start taking it again. But I'm telling you, in 3 weeks, you're never going to take those pills again because you're a singer. And sure enough, so I warn singers that I haven't come across anybody else that I heard when I went, oh, there's that sound I made. But from time to time, I want to say, yikes, everybody.
What are we looking at here?
This is my younger sister. No.
She's aged well.
I don't know if you can tell from Ledetki or whatever his name is behind there, but this was
Fiddler
a production of Fiddler on the Roof.
Okay.
And that is, what is the grandmother's name that comes back?
Baba.
Yeah, her.
Yeah.
Well, that gal is a great friend, and actually, it's funny that she does these things for me, but she's got a quadruple platinum album on her wall. Her name is Natalie Archangel, and she was first on the music scene nationally. About 75, 76. I remember seeing her MTV videos. And her kids and my kids became friends through the theater program. And they invited us over to the house one time. And she's just a wonderful artist. She just creates these things. And she's got a band going now. And then she just had a song hit the European top 50 with a bullet.
Wow.
She's brought me in the studio, I think 3 times to sing different things. I never know what happens. I just do it for her. But
that's a
Natalie
great
Archangel.
part. They're not, the part's not on stage that long, but it's certainly memorable. Now,
yeah,
we had
her with stilts that when she went up, she was threatening in about 15 feet. It's great.
Good friend of mine was in the Broadway revival of Fiddler on the Roof, and a short while after that went to Peoria to see a touring company of Wicked, and I was reading the Alphabet's credits, and I saw that she had been in the Broadway production of Fiddler as the name we can't remember. Anybody that's watching, if you know, shoot us a message, please. I want to say Baba Vanya, but I'm afraid that's that psychic or something like that. But I texted Eric from the theater. I said, hey, do you know her? And he goes, oh yeah, tell her I said hi. She's doing great. And it's like, oh, parts of Star Launcher there. Okay.
Frumacera.
There we go. Thank you. Eventually it comes.
This is a fun picture. That night, that's my daughter Charlotte. and she was nominated for a Shelley Award, Best Actress, and a Shelley Award, that little clown statue, that covers about, depending on the year, 15 to 17 theater companies. So it's a very nice, a lovely black tie night, and we appreciate each other's work. And that night, she won for Laura, I think, in Brighton Beach Memoirs. She had done it for me the year before, and then I got a special contribution to the arts that same night.
Wow.
So it was very nice. And while Charlotte was, I got called up to get my award, walked off stage through the photo rooms and all that stuff. I come upstairs, and there's the mayor of a nearby town that that I hadn't seen in a while, that I knew, and she's talking with me, and she says, "I think your daughter was nominated tonight." And she said, "Oh yeah, I got to get in there." And she said, "Too late, she won." And Charlotte comes up behind me and says, "Did you hear all the great things I said about you?" And I said, "No, I was talking to Her Honor, the mayor, but I got to see it later on."
You know, every time I get nominated, I'm always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Okay, we're singing with who's
this is with the community orchestra here in Brentwood. They do a summer nights concert series. There's about 2,500 people out there on blankets and lawn chairs, and this is a very funny picture for me, because I was doing a Gershwin thing, and we rehearsed it, and I only sang it through like once. It was like, "That great, that's perfect." And she said, "Well, the woodwinds," so we rehearsed it 2 times. Perfect, no problem. That night I'm backstage, and I hear my name called, and I decide I'm going to walk on the introduction because it's too long not to. And so I come walking out, and I'm like, something's wrong. And I'm going, what is it? I hear the band okay. There's the microphone that guy talked on. Something's wrong. And she was playing it in stretch time. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, she was playing 1, 2. And I don't care how well you know a song, when it's played at 25% speed, you don't know where to come in.
No,
and
you do not.
My daughter Charlotte shot a video of me that night, and she's in the back. And just when it starts, I'm trying to think if she was at the rehearsal or she just knew. But when it starts, and she's like, "Okay, quiet, I'm filming Dad." Oh
yeah.
You can always tell. And the conductor leaned over to me and like, "It seems a little slow." I go, "You can speed it up 4 times as fast." I'm smiling, I'm trying not to talk and like, "You can go 4 times as fast, and that'd be great." Oh, that's
and you do that little, you try to be subtle, doing this thing behind you. And,
like everybody else just watched me over here.
Yeah, I know.
But it came out okay. It finished.
I've been in that situation on more than one time, like pageants and stuff, where they hired me to be the host, and the band's
I bet we could talk about things that have gone wrong. That could fill a whole show. There's so many of them, and the other things are the opportunities for others to show their brilliance with quick thinking and thinking on their feet a little bit. It goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I
know. I always get a kick out of like when you're doing a show at the college and you got some folks that are green, and I know that means a great deal to them, like their first or second big show. And they've done maybe something in high school, and they're like, "Oh, this one time, this one guy forgot to say this instead of that, and we all were just dying and blah, blah, blah." And I'm thinking, oh, you got to be kidding. I got shot out of a cannon one time in Barnum and practically deafened myself.
The things that happen.
I know, but it means every situation like that means so much to so many people
along their way.
I
was singing with the Berkeley Opera, and I was doing a Marriage of Figaro. So the whole thing is pretty fast,
Mm-hmm.
And there's this scene. I'm playing the bad guy, Pandamasi, maybe. I can't think what the guy's name was. Anyway, I'm making this quick entrance. I'm about to sing, and the Carabino character, who it's a pants roll, it's a woman playing this boy, is in love with this this countess. Well, in this song, the Carabino thinks she hears the count coming and jumps up. Well, this night, opening night, of course, the Carabino jumps up a progression early, clocking heads with a wonderful coloratura soprano, Colette Rice, who immediately, I open the door and she jumps 85 pages in the score to a similar musical moment. But what she says doesn't make sense for anybody on stage. So, and Jonathan Cooner of the San Francisco Opera is conducting. And he looks like, is somebody going to do anything? And he's playing a harpsichord and he hits a chord. And I say, now Carabino, confused by her collision. And somehow over the course of, I don't know what he was going to do next, but he played another chord. The orchestra just stopped. He's on harpsichord. And I get everything back online again. And we continue. So after the show, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, I'm Josh. How in the world did you think to get the show back on track after the clocked heads? And I said, well, and Jonathan Cooner walks by me and says, you know, he was in a rock band. That's how he knows. He's been blown up on stage. He's been lit on fire. And the guy said, really? And I go, well, yeah, things
kind
did
of
go
sort
wrong.
of. Yeah.
You had to be quick on your feet back then. Things were always exploding around you. And so this is nothing, some clocked heads. Well, it turns out that Josh turns out to be Joshua Kosman from the San Francisco Chronicle, who writes this scathing review. And then the last 4 paragraphs are all about me. And my phone rang off the wall. And I called him and I said, I wanted to thank you for your kind words. And he goes, nobody has ever saved an opera when that happens.
No.
And to make a long story short, my phone rang off the wall for 2.5 years. Are you the guy Kosper said was in the rock band, who's now in the opera? And then I go, yes, that was me. Why do you ask? Do you have a place you need someone to sing that might blow up?
We got another picture here. You and I share something here. Chad, do you have that picture of Music Man? I think it is 76 trombones. I think you told us it was Music Man.
Oh, yes.
Okay. There you are in the middle, Harold Hill,
Whoa.
in a bolo tie.
It was one of those opportunities for growth. I'd cast an older actor as the director. And he came to me opening night and said, I can't do it. I just can't do it. And he did the opening night, had a lot of rough times. And I took it over the next night. And everybody knew I'd done this for Bob Manahan. I played the mayor. And they're like, come on, you've already done the role. I go, yeah, what did you have for lunch on August 4th and 6 to 8? Because that's what it's like. But luckily, as you know, the mayor does a lot of stuff at the podium, so I could have some cheat sheets up there. But it was the hardest thing. And these guys, this was wonderful about them. They came out, their name at the time, their performance name was the Delta Dons. So out in this area, there's water all around. This goes all the way to Stockton, up to Sacramento. So this area is called the Delta. And I had these guys come in for different, solo parts in the quartet. And then these guys came in, they were a unit. And they were fabulous, just fabulous. And I'm still friends. One has moved out of the area, but I'm still friends with all of them. They're just great guys, great guys.
So you did not play Harold then?
I did not play Harold, yeah. I got to do it with a symphony once at the Pavilion, and that was wonderful. I had always wanted to do that role since high school. So I got to do it.
Every guy, that's always like on the dream role. And I did it when I was really young, and then I did it again in my late 20s and again in my 30s, and I think twice in my 40s. And every time I did it, it's like, this isn't really that fun part. He's so sappy, the show would get a little sappy at the end, but
Well,
I know. Speaking of the Music Man, did you see Broadway that is now hoping to open February of 2021, and they've postponed but not canceled Hugh Jackman in The Music Man.
so he's just like all of us.
I know.
He's always wanted to do the role.
I know. Here's the thing. I'm a big fan of Hugh Jackman. I saw him do Oklahoma, and he's just a terrific on-stage presence. I wish they were doing something a little lesser known, because his name would still sell tickets. I'd like to see him bring George M. or Barnum or one of those other guy-centric shows there. But I also read today that Rosie O'Donnell has confirmed that they are doing Funny Girl when they reopen, and she will be playing Rose Bryce.
Oh, the mom?
The mom.
Mm-hmm.
And no more details except who the director was, and I forget that. I can think of about 800 other actresses who would probably rather see, but she'll be fine. It's an important part, has a couple good songs, but I didn't see her, but when Brooke Shields did Sandy in Grease on Broadway, you remember that?
Years ago, yeah.
Yep, and then Rosie played Rizzo. I heard the cast album. It's not my favorite recording, but I'm glad they're bringing Funny Girl back. It's a great show.
Yeah, great show.
I've played Nikki Arnstein 4 times when I was younger. Not that young, though. I think that's all the pictures we got here. Now, I see we're in our last 10 minutes here. I see you've done some film as well, 5 international movies. You've got some TV here, the Larry Hilp story and the Trailside Killer. Were you the killer?
I was the good guy cop who found him. And that was on Discovery Network through, the film company's actually in London. I can't think of it right now. But it was interesting because, in the area, if you want to film, you don't just close the street. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Well,
and this company would, So this company would come over from, they sent people around the world to do the retelling of big stories.
Okay.
And when, at the time when I auditioned, I had a pretty full beard like this. And then they asked me about it. They checked with my my agency, the Stars agency. They checked availability, so that's going good. And I decided that I would cut my beard and leave long lamb chops, kind of like what they wore back then.
Right.
And so when I showed back up, they were all like, "Oh, he's committed, Oh, look what he's, And so I said, how's it looking? And they said, great. And actually, at different times, you're going to get to talk to the cop if you want to know what he was thinking, who actually did these arrests. And I go, oh, yeah, I'd love to. Wow. So I never actually met the guy, though. And they said, he's in this room. Do you want to meet him? And I said, no, I don't want to. That's going to mess with me at this point. I know what I want to do, and I'm fine. And so I met him at the rap party. He had military sideburns right to his eye. Oh. And he looks at me and he goes, did you play me? Oh, yeah. He goes, what's with the lamb chops? And I said, well, they knew they could do anything they wanted with me. Did you have lamb chops back then? He goes, no, I've always been a military. So no matter how good that movie was, that guy will always say, we got it wrong. We got it wrong.
I love the reenactments on Travel Channel, when they do the ghost stuff, or the History Channel. Yeah. And they have the real person talking. They've got like 2 teeth in their head and like, well, it sure did scare me. And then you get to the reenactment actor who looks like a model, is like the homeliest person they could find to play that person. Now, and you've got 5 movies.
Yeah, there were different projects from different countries, and nothing big ever happened with them. But it was, and we filmed all here domestically. So that was, it was pretty cool.
That's nice.
There was another one, A Daughter's Gift, that was probably the hardest part I've ever did on camera. And this was a guy whose heart was failing him. And his favorite daughter, his youngest daughter, was in an accident. And back then in 82-ish, you could write on your donate card, if my dad doesn't have a heart yet that matches him, I want him to have a shot at this. You can't do that anymore. But back then you could. So this guy's in the hospital and just barely getting out and walking, to the mailbox was an effort. But his daughter gets in this accident, and there were days of crying. The longest day was 9 hours straight. And the director would say through a translator, do you want to take a break? And I'd say, I'm not going to want to take a break till this is all over.
Yeah.
Unless the crew needs a break. And all these crew guys are out, I'm crying over, should I take this? All the crew guys are crying, and the director's wiping a tear away. And it came out dramatically, wonderfully. But boy, that we shot up in the Napa Valley. There's a veterans hospital, and the fourth floor is a movie set that's not used for anything but that. They bring in their whatever they need to make it convincing. And we shot it. Well, we shot it all over the Bay Area, but that top floor, when you think of how there were patients in those rooms, we had some pretty exciting things. I remember one time they wanted to film me in anguish on this gurney being rolled down the hallway. So the cameraman is straddling me on a gurney, shooting my agonizing face, some prize footage I hope we never see. And I look, and as he's standing over me, I can't do this with my hands, we're coming up on this low doorway, and it's going to kill him.
Yeah. And
I didn't know what. So I grabbed his shirt past his camera and pulled him down, and he was Japanese. And so I'm not sure what he was saying, but I think it was something like, I'm greatly displeased that this man is pulling me down. I think he was saying that.
Well,
anyway.
Boy, this ham really wants a close-up.
Yeah. Boy, he wants a close-up on his face. Then I point up at the doorway, and then he was like hugging me and thanking me, understanding, because, you don't touch another actor. You sure don't touch the director of photography, let alone save his life. But
well, my brief foray into films, which was also in California, I definitely prefer the stage. I'd rather have the spontaneity and all that. I too used to live in California. I think I told you before we came on briefly in Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
I always thought the theater opportunities out there were awesome because most people.
They had Shakespeare Santa Cruz right there on the boardwalk.
Oh, I know. I performed with Gloria. It was the name of a town too. Gloria Stockton was her name. I'm sure she's not around anymore. And we performed at Theater by the Sea. I don't remember where that was, but we had a long run. She was the last of the Red Hot Mamas, and she was she must have been pushing 70 then. But she did Sophie Tucker stuff. It was a filthy, filthy show. I had a ball because I was in my 20s. And that was the first time I had ever had a woman ask me to help duct tape her boobs.
Yeah, you remember when that first time when that happens.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, that's gotta hurt really bad. So, all right, well, we're nearing our end time here. So I know you're on hiatus, we're on hiatus. Now, California, you guys are not doing so great right now with the
well, I think there are always going to be people in a society who don't believe that things are as bad as they are, or that their little contribution or lack thereof is as important. But I think that they're coming around out here now, certainly with restaurants having to shut back down. I don't think I saw any sidewalk seating either. So, because that opened up about a month ago, then the every other table about 2 weeks ago, and now it's closed again. So
We had outdoor dining a while back. We just went into phase 4, I think, beginning of July, where the restaurants can serve inside, observing all the rules. But from what I've seen, I'm not comfortable eating out yet because too crowded, and I'm
I've
afraid
kept my contacts very, very
Yeah.
slight. I really have.
We've been so careful. And just like us and everybody else in this business, I mean, we don't know when we're going to get back to doing what it is we do. And this is
It's
financial.
very hard. I'm trying to continue a Brentwood Teen Theater Saturday morning section that was supposed to do Cinderella. Memorial Day weekend was going to be the opening weekend. Then we reposted it for mid-August, and now that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So
I know.
if there's any
The
Brentwood
college,
Teen Theater kids watching, I'm sorry you just found out this way, but thanks for tuning in.
we were in rehearsal for Legally Blonde at the college, had a
Cute show.
fantastic cast. And I had a gut feeling as I was kind of watching things develop. I thought, I don't know if this show is going to see the lights. And I don't even remember where it was, somewhere around March-ish, where I said to everybody, don't be surprised. And we had a rehearsal scheduled, and I'm like, let's take tonight off. And the next day is when they made the call, that all that had to stop. I was, of course, disappointed, but also a little bit relieved because I sure as hell don't want this thing. So we're hoping for next spring. We're hope we're back good
nice.
by next spring. Yeah, and the advances.
We're hoping Christmas in Biltmore might go up in July, but then seasonally it just doesn't.
Christmas in July, you always got that angle.
I'll probably find a store who would back me on that.
Sure you would. Listen, before we go, give us a website where we can visit your production company.
Well, you can go to Broadway Repertory, like Berkeley Repertory. That doesn't mean anything. Just the way you think it should be spelled. And then that's a theater with an ER. Brentwood Teen Theater is a theater with an ER, and that's Brentwood Teen Theater. I'm so glad those URLs were available. And then we have a Brentwood Children's Theater we do about 2 classes there a year of younger actors wanting to understand it. And we write all original monologues for them to say about things that they like to do. And
terrific.
So some things, you have to, I was thinking how Billy Joel reinvented himself every decade. And I'm thinking, so what do I do here? So I am, still doing things on, there's a Facebook page. I think it's Online Voice Lessons with Steve Kinsella. I like these things where you don't have to wonder what it is you're going to go to.
Yeah.
And on there right now, people who've often wondered about voice can go and actually get a first voice lesson on there. It's not a link to hook you into other stuff, but you can go to Online Voice Lessons with Steve Kinsella at Facebook. Perfect. And there's a beginner class.
Way to keep your chops in working order, or if you're just starting out, a lot of folks. Steve, it was so good catching up with somebody originally.
So interesting how our lives have paralleled.
I know.
I didn't know about the Santa Cruz part of your life.
Yeah, that was part of when I was directing for a company out of New York, and they sent me there, and I was really burned out from the directing, so I took some time off, and I thought, I like it here, so I just stayed there.
Very nice down there.
Yep, had some good opportunities. I fit right in. Great boardwalk, bunch of old hippies. I liked it.
Well, Don, thanks for what you and Chad are doing here, helping me to relive some fun things, and also for our theater-loving community. I hope that they're wondering how some things happen. That's how they happen. Definitely. Many things have begun with a conversation, and next thing you know, there's 2,000 people with programs in their hands waiting for the show to start.
Very true.
So,
very true.
God bless you for everything you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Success.
Same to you.
Let me know what happens with Legally Blonde. I've directed it about 4 times. Just love it. It's just a great show.
Terrific show. It's a great show. But who knows? Right. Who knows? But all right. Well, Steve, thanks so much for joining us all the way from California. It's early out there for you now, isn't it?
Oh, heck yeah. I
only
think it's
7.
not even, we're 2 hours behind you.
Yes, it's only 7 o'clock there.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Next week, don't forget, I've got some of our favorite folks from the stages of different areas. If you know somebody, watch the Facebook post for it. Thank you so much for joining us. Spread the word, reshare these videos, and if you know of anybody that would be a terrific guest for us, you know we're always looking. You can catch my email right there in the group description on IVCC Fine Arts. Steve, thank you.
Very good. All right, thank you. Have a good night. Stay safe and be well back there.
We shall.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.